Well, hello, all my artist and Billie Eilish fans. We are going to take a look at this drawing as I do it because I want to pass along the things that I've learned and what works and what doesn't, because as many of you know, I just got back to drawing, recently, and this is maybe my, third, fourth really big drawing since I got back to it. So what I want to do is pass along some of the things that I've learned work for me and don't work for me based on this drawing. If I was to do this drawing again, I would do it bigger, for one thing, because I wanted to get more detail, and even though the pencils are sharpened and all that, the grain of the paper is a little bit rough, and if I was working bigger, I could get a little more detail, and so I would probably do that. Now, the way I tend to work is not to just start on an area and finish it. I like kind of getting things roughly laid out and just kind of work my way out and get the whole picture to where I can kind of see how it's going to come along. If you want to see my work area, you can see the easel that I built, that I really, really love and has worked out extremely well. It's very simple to build. I'll put a link at the end of the video. There is also a little pencil holder that I made that I didn't know that they sell them. I just thought about it when I was working, and I thought, you know what, I need something to just kind of keep my pencils organized and all that. Not knowing that they sell these left and right, so I just went ahead and made myself one, but I am going to show you how to make one if you don't want to spend the money to buy one, because it's very, very simple, and that'll be an upcoming video. As far as the work on here goes, you'll notice I'm using a variety of methods. Between that paper stump there, right, to blend and get a little bit smoother lines, and the paintbrush was just basically to smooth things out and not have pencil marks. But now coming up, when I do the skin, I will be using the pencil to give myself texture by just lightly squiggling the end, rather than doing lines. I think you'll see it more when I zoom in on the eyes. But I'm going to be all over the place while I'm talking, but I just want you to be able to learn with me. Using an eraser as a tool for getting light is something I didn't used to do. A whole bunch of things that I didn't used to do that I learned from watching videos, so hopefully you'll learn something from this one. As you can see right here, just the size of the pencil tips and everything just makes it harder to get that. But if you look right there in the eyes, you'll see the little squiggly lines right up above it. And you'll also see me using an electric eraser that is, to be able to erase out little fine areas. Now, one thing I will point out is the eraser tip that came with it, the little tiny ones, they're really soft, and if you're not careful, as you're erasing longer lines, it'll grab graphite and then embed them onto the paper and make little black marks down it. So if I was to buy replacement tips, I'd probably buy a harder eraser tip. The soft ones just break off too much, and they're just harder to work with, because the bigger ones that I had that were a little firmer, they worked much better. And then I ended up using those actually without the mechanical eraser, as you'll see coming up with the hair. Now what I'm doing here is I bought graphite powder, because trying to draw dark into that whole background, which is going to end up being black, major pain in the ass. So I had seen a thing on using graphite powder to do it, so I thought, okay, well, I'll lay that in to give myself a dark background so I can kind of work my my tones to match that, because all of your darkest tones on your drawing are going to need to match the darkest area on the background. And since the background was basically going to be black, I needed to get it in there so that I was, bringing the whole drawing to that particular level of lightness and darkness. So you'll see me using the eraser there, by the way, to add highlight above the lips and things. But like I say, this is going to be all over the place. I'm using all different kinds of pencils, different weights. I have the full range, which is why I built the little pencil holder, because I used to work with them all just laying on the table, and then you're constantly searching for the one you want next. So when I built the pencil holder, I arranged them by 5H, to 4H, and put them across in order. So it went 5H to HB to B, and then all the way up to 8B. B is the softest and darkest pencil. H is the hardest, for those that don't really do drawing. But what I'm doing here is I'm trying to get the skin smoother and just let the grain of the paper add some of the skin texture. Because I'll be doing some of it with pencil too, but for this particular one, it's a very light skin kind of thing, so I'm letting the paper do a little bit of the work for me. And then, as I said, I don't tend to finish areas before I move on. I tend to do the whole thing and then go back and refine everything at the end, and then I can kind of see how it works with everything else. Whereas when you're doing them individually, sometimes you'll think an area is done. Then when you go and add the other pieces in, you realize you did the whole thing too light or too dark, and then you end up with an issue. So that is why I prefer to work the way I do. When I laid this out, there's also a video on me laying out this particular picture, because I was showing how I lay out my drawings and paintings now. And when I laid it out, I really wish I had given myself some more reference lines than I did, but I was trying to cater to the people that think of laying it out by, tracing in a way that you can just use it to give yourself references rather than giving yourself more than you need to. So I really should have laid out more, and I think I will be redoing this drawing. Okay, now talking about the graphite right here, it's a real mess to work with, because I had watched it and it was like, you do it like this and then you do another layer, but then you end up with graphite powder everywhere. And you have to lay it down to do it, because I tried it standing up the first time and it just kept falling down the page, as I was working. But you'll see coming up, I went ahead and did some research and found a new way to do it after. For light hair over dark, you see the little to the left, there's those little dark spots. That's what was happening, because the graphite was grabbing on the eraser, and then it would leave these little dark marks and sometimes skip along and make real dark areas. So you have to be really careful of that with the mechanical erasers if they're too soft. I'll probably order some new tips. Okay, so what I'm doing here is I've mixed the graphite with linseed oil, and then it allows you to paint the background on. You don't have as much, powder just falling away. And it mixes almost like a paste, so it doesn't soak into the paper, and it does take a little while to dry, so you have to be cognizant of that. If I was to do this again, I would probably do the linseed oil later in the process, after I got all of the hair going over the background, and I would have darkened around the hair with graphite, with regular pencil, and then finished up with that. I think I'm getting towards the end now, so I better talk quickly. So what I'm doing here is just all the little refining things. And if you've noticed off and on through the process, I've had the black thing over there to the right was actually a door jamb. Sorry about my cat. It was a door, the foot plate for a door that sits across my surface, but has a little 1/4 inch underneath, so it never actually touches the drawing. The way that I built my easel, it sits away from it and doesn't give when I put my hand on it, but I'm able to keep my hand off there so I don't smudge at all, even with the linseed oil, which was still, if you touch it, you were going to get black on you. So it's a really, really nice design that has worked out really well for me. So you might want to look into something like that. But I think, I've still got a little bit of work to do at the bottom, but it is moving, really quickly because I didn't want to bore you all. If you are just here for the art, I would suggest, if you like really great music, listen to Billie Eilish. I never had until I did her on my reaction channel, and I've grown to be quite a fan because it is not what I expected, and it's really, really, really nice music. To move on, the big thing here is, I think what I captured the most was the eyes. Actually captured the right attitude and all for Billie, and just it captured the soul I felt, which is what you're always trying to do with a portrait. If you don't get the eyes right, the whole portrait's going to be a failure. Now, if you look over there where I'm putting pencil to try and fill in the dark areas, it doesn't blend with the linseed oil. And if I do this again, which I probably will, I would go ahead and do another coat of linseed oil, graphite mix, and make it even darker, and work my way into those smaller areas so that there's not a difference between the pencil and the linseed and graphite mix. All right, I think we are getting close to the end here, and I believe that is the end. I'm going to go ahead and put up now the picture, the final picture taken with the camera, so that you can really see, because all of this is as I was working, and I just want you to be able to see the finished product in all its glory. So here we are, and I will just move around so that you can get a good look at it. Alrighty. And now I go silent. Thank you for joining me, and I hope this didn't bore you at all. Have a good day. Bye.